Right, hello, people at home. So let's just share these. So, for lesson 1 on structure. Right. Okay, this is what we're having a look at. Right, so why is structure important? So this is our friend H. Dumpty. So what happens if you don't put things in order? Humpty Dumpty had a big fall. He couldn't put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, all the king's horses and all the king's men. So what happens if things are not in the right order? It doesn't make sense. What else? It doesn't make sense. You can't follow the plot. Because sometimes plot is used actually, and it does kind of go backwards and forwards, but it doesn't make sense unless it's done actually. So if we actually go like this, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a big fall, or great fall, I thought it was. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. What happens when it's put in order? What do you have? Rhyme, yeah, a story. So you have a chronological order, start, middle, end. He was sat on the wall, that's the start, then he fell off, that's the middle, and then they couldn't put him back together, that's the end. The end. Right, anyone know this one as well? Did you used to sing this one when you were younger? London's burning, London's burning. Yeah.
No.
You never sung that? Yeah, Great Fire of London, starting in Putney Lane.
Yeah.
You remember singing that? No. So again, what happens if it's not in order? No, because London's burning before you fetch the engines.
Fetch the engines because London's burning.
But there's no because. Pour on water, fire, fire. That is actually not true. Yes, so, right, okay, so you have a whole question on structure in the language exam. This is the language exam that we're not doing, but it's still really important to know about it. So if you have a look at this, paper 1, question 3, you're all aiming for here, clearly explains the effects of the writer's choice of structural features. In a book, the writing structure is basically organisation. Okay, that's all structure is how something is organised. People get their knickers in a twist about it, but really the structure of a text is the way the writer organises information within the text to suit their purposes and ideas. So can you just copy what is in the yellow, and can you then remember it and maybe etch it into your heart, because that's all structure is. Organisation, things organised. So, at home, remember, things structured in a way to organise information to suit the purpose and idea. So when you get the question on structure, it's all about what's the start, what's the middle, what's the end. Okay. So if you have a look at what's on the pink, the techniques of structure, foreshadowing. What is foreshadowing? Yeah, predicting something that's going to happen. Who can tell me what? Well, paragraph structure is easy. Beginnings and endings, repetition, the use of time is in chronological order. So name me something that we study that is not in chronological order, that jumps around in terms of time. A Christmas Carol, changes of pace, paragraph sequencing, anything else. In The Merchant of Venice, what does he use to change? So he doesn't use time, he uses changes of place. Who said that? Yes, Jessica. So he uses changes of place. Where are the places he is in? Venice and where does Portia live? Belmont. Yeah, lovely. Right.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's like a sentence.
Right, text can be written to create three things. Well, let's just talk about these. What are the three things that text usually create? A mental image, yeah. But think about the tones. It's either humour or tragedy, tension, yeah. Are verbs and adjectives an example of structural techniques? False. That's language. Right, two structural techniques that we just talked about. What were they? Foreshadowing. Come on, I just told you. Foreshadowing and chronological order or not. Right, what are the three places in a text you need to analyse when writing about a structure?
Beginning, middle, end.
Start, middle, end, beginning, middle, end. When analysing structure, it is important to discuss how the something changes throughout the text. Fuff. 5 letters. Begins with a F. Focus. Who said that? Metaphorical. Yeah, focus. Write that down. F o curly k. Focus.
Just focus.
Focus. Yeah, just write the word focus and do a massive, massive round. Because in the question, in your language question, what you need to do is basically just talk about the writer focuses on at the start, then the writer focuses on, and then it changes, and then finally the writer focuses. Yeah.
So will it be a text and then you talk about it?
Yeah, in the language question, yes. But you can also talk about structure in terms of merchant and poems and A Christmas Carol. Okay. Done? Focus? Right. Here we go. Right, you need to come and get this. You might remember this text actually. We're going to look at the start and the middle and the end. Okay, so can you get rid of these, please? Also, right, so this is the question, and it says, I'll put this on in a minute. You now need to, so this is question 1, right? And I know that we're not doing, sorry, this is paper 1, question 3. I know we're not doing paper 1, question 3 in these mocks. However, understanding structure and how it works with merchant and A Christmas Carol will help you. You now need to look at the whole of the source. How has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? You could write about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning, how and why the writer changes the focus as the extract develops, any other structural techniques that interest you. Right, so this is what I want you to do. I want you first of all to think about, is the writer creating tension, pathos, or humour? Okay. As we read through this, that's what I want you to actually work out. Is he creating tension, pathos, or humour? And what techniques does he actually use? Right, I'm just going to get this on the board for everyone at home. Okie dokie. Bear with. Okay. Right, so as I'm reading through this, I want you to think about what happens at the start, what happens as he changes, and then as things go on. Right, Curly stepped over to Lenny like a terrier. What the hell are you laughing at? Lenny looked blankly at him. Huh? Then Curly's rage exploded. Come on, you big bastard! Get up on your feet. No son of a bitch is going to laugh at me. I'll show you who's yeller. Lenny looked helplessly at George, and then he got up and tried to retreat. Curly was balanced and poised. He slashed at Lenny with his left and then smashed down his nose with a right. Lenny gave a cry of terror. Blood welled from his nose. George! He cried. Make 'em let me alone, George. He backed until he was against the wall, and Curly followed, slugging him in the face. Lenny's hands remained at his sides. He was too frightened to defend himself. George was on his feet, yelling, Get him, Lenny! Don't let him do it! Lenny covered his face with his huge paws and bleated with terror. He cried, Make him stop, George! Then Curly attacked his stomach and cut off his wind. Slim jumped up. The dirty little rat, he cried. I'll get him myself. George put out his hands and grabbed Slim. Wait a minute, he shouted. He cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled, Get him, Lenny! Lenny took his hands away from his face and looked about for George, and Curly slashed at his eyes. The big face was covered with blood. George yelled again, I said, Get him! Curly's fist was swinging when Lenny reached for it. The next minute, Curly was flopping like a fish on a line, and his closed fist was lost in Lenny's big hand. George ran down the room. Let go of him, Lenny! Let go! But Lenny watched in terror the flopping little man whom he held. Blood ran down to Lenny's face. One of his eyes was cut and closed. George slapped him in the face again and again, and still Lenny held on to the closed fist. Curly was white and shrunken now, and his struggling had become weak. He stood crying, his fist lost in Lenny's paw. George shouted over and over, Let go his hand, Lenny, let go. Slim, come help me, while the guy got any hand left. Suddenly Lenny let go of his hold. He crouched, cowering against the wall. You told me to, George, he said miserably. Curly sat down on the floor, looking in wonder at his crushed hand. Right, what is the thing that he is trying to get you to think here? Tension, humour, or pathos? Tension. What does pathos mean? Sympathy, yeah. So this is tension, all right? It is a very tense scene. Right, what I want you to do is I want you to break this into three. Okay, so I want you to highlight which lines would you say is the first part, which lines are the second part, and which lines are the third part. That's really annoying. Right, lines 1 to what would you say are the... Right, okay. So what I want you to do is just tell me what you think the first part is. Lines 1 to Tim, what do you think the first part is? It doesn't matter if it's the same as me or not. I would say, anyone got a different one to that? Harry?
I said 1 to 4.
1 to 4? What did you say? Anino?
1 to halfway of 5.
Yeah, I got to, that's what I got for the first one, lines 1 to 4. Right, okay. Why would you say that, Harry? Why would you say that's the first part?
Because it talks about like how Lenny's just cowering and not actually really doing anything. But then onwards from that is yelling at Lenny and he's saying.
Right, so remember, think about the focus. What is the focus on in that first part? In general, what is the focus on? Yeah, and actually starting to beat him up. So if you were going to talk about this in terms of the focus, that first line is really important. Curly stepped over to Lenny like a terrier. what the hell are you laughing at? It starts, who does media? What does it start on when it's in the middle of something? Anyone heard of in media res? In media res? No? So it means that it starts in the middle of something. Okay, so it starts in the middle of something. Curly stepped over to Lenny like a terrier. So this extract already starts in the middle of the tension. Okay? Okay, right. Do you know, what would you do for the second part? Where's the second part go to? What line?
Probably 16.
Ooh, why would you say that?
Well, because during all that, Lenny still has hold of his hand. So once he lets go, that's the end.
Right, would anyone disagree with that? Bella, where'd you go to? There's no right or wrong about this, it's just...
Probably 30, because that's when he then fights back.
Very good. If I was going to do it, that's what I would do. So the second part would go from line 5 to the end of line 12. The reason why I would suggest that is because in that part you have the tension of George telling him to get him and Slim trying to get involved and getting him to do it, and also Lenny still being beaten up by Curly. And then the tension changes and it goes from that happening to Curly's fist was swinging when Lenny reached for it. And then again, that concludes things. Okay. Right, what words do we use when we start something? And these are a good idea. These are good things for you to write down. Anyone know? Anyone know? Anyone know what kind of words would we do when they say at the start? One begins with I. Introduce, very good. Right, okie dokie. Can you just write these down, then you're going to have a go at doing this. Right, so you've got your techniques here. These are really important: tension, pathos and humour. That are certain things that they want to do. Right, so at the start you have intro and establish. So it's a good idea to always think of those words, introduce and establish, because they are the words that actually, what is the writer trying to do in that extract? Okay. Right, in the middle, this is when, what happens in the middle? What are other words for intensify? I used to have them all up there actually. Intensify, strength, then magnify. So they're all the things when you're kind of really ramping up what you're supposed to be doing. Creates. And what happens at the end? What are we going to see? Conclude. Right. So. Right, there you go. I want you to have a go at doing this first paragraph. At the start of the text, the writer creates what by using what? And then pick a quote. And in this, you're not exploring the quote in terms of analysing it for language. You're just doing it in terms of like talking about what it actually does. Right? So have a go at just that one there. So this one here at the start of the text. And this is all about structure. Hmm.
So he creates something by using something. Do you then relate the quote to what?
Yeah.
So if he was changing the pace, then you'd use a quote to say.
So yeah, so what we're doing here at the start, the writer creates, I would suggest, immediate tension by using or by starting the extract in the middle of something tense or something like that. So the whole point of this one is it's all about tension. You never heard of that? In media res?
No.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
In media res, meaning. So I want you to learn this because there's a couple of, right, in media res, it's in medias res, and that means you start something in the middle of something. Who can tell me which poem starts in media res? Yeah. I suppose so, yeah. But there's another one where he's like, bayonet charge, yeah. What a brilliant. Right, okay, so bayonet charge. So bless you. Right, there you go. See if you can use the word establish. Right, done? No.
When we talk about the quote, do we have to like go into context about the book?
No, because I've only done this one because you know it already, so you probably won't know the book. So no, you don't. Right. Okie dokie. Right, everyone done that? Okay. Can you, in your work, can you underline where you have got your word immediate or establish? Who managed to do that? Immediate or establish? Immediate, establish? Yeah. So where am I spelling it wrong? Everyone get that down, like immediate or establish?
Top both.
Oh, well done. Right, let me just talk about, at the start of the text, the writer creates tension by using the technique in media res. What did other people have? Creates tension by... Oh yeah, what did you put down? You did in media res? Ben? The first line. Okay, maybe I'll come back to you when we do the second one. Harry?
Using simile.
Oh yeah, all right. You can. That's kind of language, but as long as you talk about it in terms of the first bit. Okay, Curly stepped over to Lenny like a terrier. Yeah, this creates immediate intrigue for the reader because of the violence and the threat. Curly seems so aggressive that we want to know why. What has Lenny done to him to make him so mad? The text is established as one that is about a fight or some kind of skirmish, and the tone created is one of hostility. Now that's not a massive paragraph. If you're at a paragraph like that, then you're aiming for like level 7, 8, 9. It's not a lot, but the reason why that's so good is because they're looking exactly at what has happened. So they're looking at the technique used and they're looking at the effect. So the organisation. So we're going to have a go at writing the next one. Okay, so as the text progresses, we see how there's something. Okay, this change of pace shows the reader that. All right, so the second part here where it says this change of pace shows the reader that. That's the bit where you have to be really exploring things. I want to see what you've done as well. Okay. Right, so have a go at writing that one. Now this is all this question is. It's all about organisation. It's actually very simple. I said as the text progresses, we see how the writer changes the focus. I'm still writing, so you should be. Now there's lots of things you can say. Just keep writing. That's what you need to do. Just keep writing.
This is communication to read about. What do we have to worry about?
Well, what have I put? I've actually talked beforehand. I've said the pace becomes more chaotic. And now I've split this change in pace shows the reader that the fight is reaching its something. Because remember, it's like this. So do you remember, you can think about things like that. Remember when Zoe was in it? In Zoe's thing, she started here and then it got really, really tense and actually it didn't end in any kind of conclusion like this. It was just her going black. So if you think about that one, it kind of went like this. This is where it started. This is where Zoe started and it ended up right at the moment of tension. Whereas this one goes up to the climax, which is when he grabs his hand and then. So what you can talk about in this one in terms of, I'll write the other one as well. Remember that thing you did in year 10, the year 10 exam, Zoe on the skis? You did that?
Oh yeah.
She had those red skis and she was at the top of the mountain and she was looking all around and she was really happy, and then she went down the mountain and then her husband Jake was like, get out the way. But what I'm saying is that started off really quietly and the ending ended right in the middle of the tension, whereas this one, it goes up and then it comes back down again. Right, and have a go at doing that third one as well.
Yeah.
So what I like about this one, right, when you do that second one, the third one, let me just put that in a better English. When you do the third one, you're looking at this last bit. Now what's here is you've got the men, especially George, completely changing the way that he's acting. So he's going, go on, Lenny, get him. And then he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he starts slapping him. All right, and that is really good in terms of the focus. Yeah? So have a go at that one. So just use that.
Last one.
Yeah.
It still goes up, but then down. But
Yeah.
it's like still in the end.
So it's still tense, isn't it? But it concludes with what?
It concludes with it going down.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of the end, it's still going
Yeah,
up.
so you can still say that. So you can say the writer changes focus and there is still tension because we're worried about the damage that Lenny is doing. Once we Right. Right, couple of minutes. Actually, no, one more minute. Right, so think about it. Have a look at your last paragraph. Have you got the word conclude in it? All right, and have you explored how actually it has concluded? And also see if you can talk about something in that last paragraph that links to the first paragraph. Is there anything you can do? Right. So if you're at home, you can just go back and read what I have put on there.